The incumbent governor and candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ahmadu Fintiri, was last night declared winner of the supplementary governorship election in Adamawa State. Arise correspondent Mary Chinda reports.
It's the same room where collation resumes after a 48-hour suspension. This time under the close supervision of INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Voter Education and Information Committee, Festus Okoye, alongside other national commissioners. The returning officer, Professor Mohammed Mele, makes the final announcement after the collation from 10 remaining local government areas.
Total valid votes 853,819. 853,819. Rejected votes 15,287. 15287. Total votes cast 869,106. 869,106.
Amid jubilation, election observers and party agents commend INEC.
We want to use this opportunity to thank the chairman of INEC. We thank him enormously for rescuing democracy and for rescuing peace in Adamawa.
The incumbent governor and now governor-elect shares his gratitude in his acceptance speech.
Once again, you have brought out our stoic and Spartan spirit as Adamawa people to bear. For this, I can't thank you enough. Thank you and thank you again. Fellow students, you did all this for us. You did all this for democracy. You did all this for our dear state. You did all this for the present generation and perhaps the generation yet unborn.
Others say Fintiri's win is well-deserved, while urging him to deliver on his campaign promises.
Adamawa decided to vote for Governor Ahmadu Fintiri because of his laudable achievement. One, for ensuring security and stability in Adamawa. Two, for paying NECO and WAEC for the children of the poor. Three, for building new brand hospital 8. 100%. 4, for constructing over 347.6 kilometer road in rural roads. 5, for renovating our general hospitals.
The drama that has ensued from this INEC headquarters in Yola 48 hours after comes to an end with an official and legal declaration of a governor-elect for Adamawa State. But the tribunal cases that would come out from this election, only time would tell. Mary Chinda reporting for Rise News, Yola.
National Commissioner at the Independent National Electoral Commission and its Chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, joins us now. Good afternoon, Mr. Okoye. Thank you for joining us on Newsday.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Now, the last time you were here, just before I spoke to you, just before the governorship polls, I recall asking you about measures that were being taken by INEC, to check and handle staff that had been compromised. And you did advise that we should deter from rumors, probably, that we saw on social media because there was no proof of such. And now that the Adamawa scenario has revealed that you, in fact, have compromised staff, if you are taking certain measures preceding this, do you think all this could have been avoided?
Well, the Adamawa scenario, as far as the Commission is concerned, may likely be an isolated event. The Resident Electoral Commissioner acted in a manner not befitting of a Resident Electoral Commissioner. Now, when Resident Electoral Commissioners were appointed, the Commission organized a retreat between the Commission and the Resident Electoral Commissioners and the other directing staff of the Commission for them to properly grasp the extent of their powers, the limits of their powers, and also to know the things they are supposed to do as Resident Electoral Commissioners. It was made clear to them that the powers they exercise as Resident Electoral Commissioners, given the tenor of Part 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, are the powers of the Commission, and that the Commission has delegated part of his powers to them, and that the commission can also withdraw those powers if those powers are not being properly exercised. We also drew the attention to Section 6, Subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, which makes resident electoral commissioners. Now, it is very clear that out of the 36 resident electoral commissioners, none of them went ahead to make a declaration and a return of any governor or any other official that falls within the ambit of the Constitution, except the rec for Adamawa State. Now, returning officers and collation officers are appointed by the Commission, and they are given letters of appointment. And the things they are supposed to deal with are also found within the framework of the Electoral Act, within the framework of our regulations and guidelines, and also other manuals of the Commission. So I want to view this particular situation as an isolated event because the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Adamawa State knew that what he was doing was not in consonance with the Constitution, was not in consonance with the Electoral Act, and also was not in consonance with the regulations and guidelines of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And that is why we are treating the issue with all the seriousness it deserves, because we cannot have a situation where a resident electoral commissioner will bring the electoral process to disrepute and also go to the fight of throwing a state into avoidable crisis. The Commission will not entertain that.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, let's talk about the disciplinary actions that are meted to the parties involved. Now, the Police Force Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi said that the Inspector General of Police has yet to receive any letter from the Independent National Electoral Commission seeking the probe and prosecution of, its embattled Resident Electoral Commissioner in Adamawa, Hudu Yunusa Ari. So, I mean, in saying that INEC is trying to do something, shouldn't this be a priority to show the Nigerian people that they can still trust the INEC process?
Well, this commission is a public trust. This commission is a commission of the Nigerian people, and we take the powers granted to us and the functions we perform seriously. Now, the commission met yesterday at 11 a.m. I attended the meeting of the commission, where these resolutions were taken. One, that the Commission should write to the Inspector General of Police, drawing his attention to the infractions of the various provisions of the Electoral Act by the Resident Electoral Commissioner, and calling for his investigation. The Commission also took the decision that we are also going to write to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, so that he can draw the attention of the appointing authority, in this instance, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, of the things that the Resident Electoral Commissioner has done. We also took the decision that we are going to go with the returning officer for the Adamawa governorship election, Professor Mohammed Mele, back to Adamawa State, back to Yola, to go and complete and conclude the return and make a declaration and a return. I left for Yola yesterday with Sam Olumekum, National Commissioner, where we joined the returning officer in making sure that we had a conclusion to the Adamawa governorship election issue. And we returned back to Abuja around 8 p.m. yesterday. So I presume that particular letter, which the commission took a decision on, must have been finalized. So if they have not gotten the letter, or if they did not get the letter as at yesterday, I am sure that they will get that particular letter today. And that meant for the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. If they didn't get it yesterday, they will have gotten it today. We just finished giving certificates of return to senators-elect and the members of the House of Representatives elect. So after this interview, I will go in to go and see the chairman to confirm the exact situation of things. Because by 3 p.m. today, we're also supposed to give a certificate of return to the governor-elect of Adamawa State and the deputy governor-elect of Adamawa State. So we take our responsibility seriously. And the audacity of the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Adamawa State and the way he has tried to bring disrepute to the electoral process will not be condoned by the Commission. So we are viewing his actions seriously, and we are going to make sure that if a prima facie case is established against him, that we prosecute him.
Thank you for that update, Mr. Okoye. Now, away from the actions of the Resident Electoral Commissioner, let's look at the process when it came to assigning the contract for the printing of sensitive materials. I also recall that during the last interview, you said that you would not be reviewing, or you didn't see need for the process to be reviewed, even though Aisha Binani, the governorship candidate of the APC, was linked to the company that was assigned that very imperative task of producing the sensitive materials for the elections. Seeing what's played out in Adamawa State, would you now be considering reviewing that process?
You know, the process for the award of contracts in this commission follows the let-down processing procedures for the award of contract. Now, we also try to, as much as possible, prevent the issue of conflict of interest. We try to see to it that those who we award contracts to are not overtly linked to any of the registered political parties. I want to assure you that for security contracts, for the printing of security documents, if you attempt to lift the veil of the companies, if you attempt to lift the veil to see those who are behind some of these companies, there's a possibility that the commission may not award any contract to any of the companies that are resident in Nigeria. In 2019, over 70% of the contracts for the printing of security documents were awarded to countries in Eastern Europe, in South Africa, and in the UK. And now security printing companies in Nigeria complain bitterly that they were not being patronized. And so this time around, the commission took the decision that we were not going to print any of our security documents outside the country, but that we are going to patronize indigenous companies to make sure that we also make them grow. Now, that is exactly what we have done. In the case of the Binani security printing press, we carried out due diligence, and we found out that as of 2020, that Aisha Binani was no longer a director of that particular company. And so there was no impediment whatsoever to our awarding a contract for the printing of resources for the Northwest geopolitical zone to that particular company. Binani is from Adamawa State, and her company did not print any of the security documents for the Northeast. So I think that we took care and we carried out due diligence in terms of some of these issues. But I can assure you and assure the nation that the moment we are done with this particular election, that we will sit down as a commission and also look at the gamut of issues that arose during this particular period. And if there are issues to be reviewed, we will definitely review them. And if there are amendments to be made, we will definitely make those amendments. Our whole interest is to make sure that our electoral process has some level of integrity, and that Nigerians have confidence and trust in the process. And I think that should be our primary consideration, and that will be what will inform the review process we are going to carry out.
But, Mr. Okoye, the point is this has come up several times, and now we've seen actions from the candidate that suggest that it was a huge oversight. You're saying that you're assuring us that INEC did due diligence. Well, that's not what it appears to be. In the end, we're going to judge the situation by the outcomes and what it cost us. And you had to have supplementary elections in the state that is linked to the lady that is also linked to printing of the sensitive materials. So even though you're trying to make this sound very like you're going to look at things generally, I'm asking you specifically about this. Is this a matter you're going to take up, seeing what it has cost us in the end?
No, the point I have made is that the company in question did not print any of the resources and any of the ballot papers used for the conduct of elections in the northeast of the country, which includes Adamawa State. The company involved only printed security documents or documents for elections in the northwest of geopolitical zone of the country, and nobody has complained that any document leaked, so to say, in the northeast. The issues in the Northeast, the issues that led us to go back, to go and conduct supplementary election in Adamawa State, have nothing to do with the ballot papers and the resources. It has completely nothing to do with it. Because if you see, we went to so many states of the Federation to conduct supplementary elections, mostly one, on account of overvoting, two, secondly, on account of sometimes our inability to deploy based on violence and other disruptive behavior by the political parties and the politicians. And so it has nothing to do with our resources and ballot papers. Our resources and ballot papers are customized. They are customized sometimes up to the ward level, up to the registration area level. The local government resources are also customized. So and they have security features. So it is difficult for you to begin to try to clone any of our documents. It's just not possible because you may not even know the documents, the security features, and the color of the documents that will be deployed. Even national commissioners do not know. It is the chairman of the commission that makes that determination and takes that particular decision on the color coding of our ballot papers and resources, and also on the security features that will be available in relation to the documents for a particular state or a particular local government. But as I've pointed out, we are going to review the entire gamut of this election. We are going to review it with our electoral officers. We are going to review it with collation officers. We are going to review with returning officers and resident electoral commissioners and our heads of department. If there are amendments to be made, if there are issues to be dealt with, we have the courage and we have the determination to deal with those issues. We are not ashamed to say, oh, we made mistakes here or we didn't do well here. If we have not done well in any area, definitely we are going to review and make amendments, and then also make sure that we continue to serve the Nigerian people in the electoral process better.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification, Mr. Okoye. But let's talk more about the role of INEC. You know, there's a train of thought that believes that the Independent Electoral Commission is too limited, especially after what transpired in Adamawa. And that surely calls into question the power that the commission wields, whether or not it's sufficiently kitted against this sort of malfeasance. Should maybe the national chairman and the 12 national commissioners have more authority over resident electoral commissioners to avoid this kind of situation happening again?
I was a member of the UWES panel that was set up by late President Yaradua between 2007 and 2008 to review our electoral legal framework. And we did that particular review. And at the end of the day, we did agree that it may be much, much better to design a new framework for the appointment of resident electoral commissioners, that it may be better to allow the commission itself, in this case, the 12 national commissioners and the chairman, to appoint resident electoral commissioners so that they will have the power to discipline, more or less, resident electoral commissioners, and also get the resident electoral commissioners to be absolutely answerable to the commission. We also recommended a new framework for the appointment of both the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the national commissioners of the commission. It is possible for the National Assembly and civil society groups and organizations to go back to that particular report and see what new issues we need to add and what new amendments we need to make. But as I pointed out, this Adamawa thing is an isolated event. The resident electoral commissioners know that they exercise delegated authority and delegated powers, and that the commission can withdraw those powers and those authorities and domicile it in a different individual. And that's what we have done in the case of Adamawa State. Section 6, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act also makes it very clear that resident electoral commissioners are answerable to the commission. And that is why a national commissioner supervises a cluster of 3 states to make sure that we keep things tight and also make sure that we know what resident electoral commissioners are doing at each point in time. So I want to view this particular issue as an isolated event. Yes, we took certain action against the resident electoral commissioner for Sokoto State and the resident electoral commissioner for for Abia State. But their own has nothing to do with this type of brazen arrogance and brazen display of treachery against the commission. Their own has everything to do with their inability to rise up to the occasion in terms of conducting elections and also supervising election. So I think that yes, there may be need to review the powers of the resident electoral commissioners and the relationship between the resident electoral commissioners and the commission itself. But I think that we should get through with this election and then sit down and review the entire process and see where we have not done well and where we have done well and where we need to make necessary amendments and where we need to just leave things the way they are.
Noted, Mr. Okoye. Now, let's expand this, while we round up with you beyond Adamawa. If we're going to look at the feedback that we've seen whether it's from the electorate or, even the observers, whether they're local or international, INEC didn't necessarily get the best feedback. And some might say that they've lost they've lost faith in the commission. So when it comes to credibility, that's one, and looking at this process, seeing that we have some off-cycle elections coming up like that in Kogi State in November, what are you looking to do between now and then to redeem what might be left of your image, even though some might say that there's not really much to work with what's left? I'll be very, very reluctant discussing the issue of loss of credibility, loss of image, and so on. What I would be interested in is to make sure that as the National Commissioner in charge of information and voter education, that we enlighten and educate our people on the gamut of the electoral process, especially on issues relating to result management. Because in this entire process, some of the issues at play, people are not talking about the method of deployment, whether we deployed on time and whether our officers were properly trained. They are not talking about whether the beavers performed optimally, because the beavers performed optimally in terms of authentication of the voters and also in terms of validating whether a voter is properly registered or not. So many people are not talking about that. People are only talking about one aspect of result management, which is the upload of polling unit level results into the INEC result viewing portal. Our electoral process does not revolve only around result upload. And moreover, all the registered political parties nominated polling agents or political party agents. Around 5 of the political parties nominated over 170,000 polling agents. And by our electoral process, each polling agent is supposed to be given a copy of from EC8A, which is the polling unit level result, the moment elections are over. So the issue of results being uploaded into our INEC result viewing portal is only secondary. As of today, the dominant mode of collation still remains manual. The result being uploaded into the IREF is only a support mechanism to make sure that our electoral process is credible. So, but I don't want to go into all this. At the review process, we will come into all these things and see whether, if we put on a scale, whether this election has been credible or whether this election has not been credible. It will be an issue that has to be reviewed holistically. But I want to assure you and tell the nation that when we look at this election soberly, when we look at this election rationally, when we look at this election devoid of emotion, we will see that this election was more or less like a revolution. But I think that we need a sober moment, and we need a calm moment, and we need a reflective moment to see that so much happened during this particular election that has never happened in any previous election.
Thank you so much, INEC National Commissioner, Mr. Festus Okoye. Thank you for being here with us on Newsday.